We did this last year before the Cavs-Knicks playoff series. Who do you trust and why heading into that series? The rosters for the Cleveland Cavaliers look much different this time around than it did last season. There's no Danny Greens. There's no Jetty Osmonds. A lot more guys we would hope we trust, but we're going to find out if Tyvis, Jason, and myself have faith in some of the Cavs' big-time players to come through when it matters most. And lead us through this.
All right, ready to start off, guys. Donovan Mitchell. How do you guys feel about him with his injuries? Happy face, sad face.
What's the criteria?
Do you trust player X in a postseason series?
I don't like this game.
All right, we got a happy face from everybody. Donovan, so we're feeling pretty good even after the injury then.
I mean, I'm not starting this off with an angry face.
I'll go.
Using violence.
I'll go first on Donovan because I think I do not have a lot of trust in a lot of these guys. But if you look at his playoff career, last year's playoff series against the Knicks was the anomaly. That was not the regular for his postseason career. Over his course of his playoff tenure, he's averaging 27, 7, and 7. He's averaged over 30 points per game in 2 separate playoff runs that lasted at least 7 games. What happened against New York last year starts with Donovan because he was the leader of that team, but it was not just a Donovan Mitchell problem. That whole team collapsed. And heading into the postseason, he was 75, 80-ish%. He said yesterday he feels 100% healthy. I'm not sure I'm fully buying that. But with 10 days off between his last game against Indiana and we'll see him against Orlando, I do think he'll be healthy enough. If he was what he was against Indiana, against Orlando, he's going to be able to score 20, 25 points a game. Is he full peak Donovan? I'm not sure. But I do trust the fact that Donovan will show up in this postseason series in a way he did not last year against New York.
He's had some monster postseason games, for sure. I still have last year stuck in my head, and it's hard to shake that. But I do think, like, this is a really motivated team. This is a really motivated Donovan. You know, like I said before, his teams have lost in the first round 4 of the last 5 years. He's never made a conference finals. He's very aware of that. He's acutely aware of that. And he knows that's his reputation right now. And if I wrote it this morning, if they flame out again, it's on him. Like, Darius and Evan and Jarrett, no one's going to blame them.
Injury or not.
Injury or not. He's the star of the team. He's the one who's going to take the blame for it. And he knows that. I mean, JB will as well. But it'll be JB and Donovan. They'll be the ones that get blamed for it if it's an early exit again.
It'll be 70-30 JB.
Yeah, well, yeah. But, I mean, nationally, it'll be Donovan.
Oh, nationally, yeah.
It'll be Donovan.
Cleveland, 85-15.
90.
No, it'll be 95-5.
Yeah. Which I don't know is entirely fair. But we got to let it play out first. Like, hopefully they win the series, and this is a moot conversation, a moot point at least for a few weeks. I trust him.
You need to stop because I know you really wanted to do this.
There'll be plenty of other guys I can do that too.
Yeah.
But I trust Donovan.
I trust Donovan for the simple fact that I think that when you look at this Orlando matchup, he's got by far the toughest defender. I'm sure Suggs is going to be on him. And if he can be effective against their best guy and cause Suggs to call for help and guys feel like they got to help, I believe that helps everybody else get open and make open shots. But I think it all starts with him. If he can't make Jalen Suggs feel like he needs to be helped or other guys got to slide over in some type of way and Suggs can take him one-on-one, I think that just cancels out everybody else. So I think he's going to be motivated to do that. He's a really good player. In crunch time, no matter what you've seen lately, if he's as healthy as he says he is in crunch time, that guy does have that killer and that clutch gene. So I expect to see that, and I expect him to get out of the first round. They have to get out of first. They got to sell out to get out of the first round, and it starts with Donovan.
Next up, Ben.
Next up, we talked about picking him over Strus possibly, but Isaac Okoro. How are we feeling about Okoro? Tyvis does not trust him. Mike does not trust him. All right.
Wow.
Over 3.
I think Isaac has the quickest ability for me to change my heading into this series opinion. Because defensively, it's a giant diss. Defensively, it's a giant diss. As Jason mentioned with last year's Knicks series, I have to see him take and make a few threes in the postseason before I can fully trust him. He shot 45% from beyond the arc in February. That number dropped to 36% in March. You want to be trending upwards to the postseason, not downwards. Attempts relatively the same, but he had his best shooting season of his career this year. None of that matters if he's not confident enough to take those shots in the postseason. I just have to see it first. It very easily, by game 3, could be this. I just have to see it first before I change my don't trust to trust.
I totally agree, and we've talked about it on the show before, but I talked to a couple of NBA coaches this year. Is like, how would you guard this team in the playoffs? How would you? And I talked to two head coaches and assistant, and they all said the same thing. You have to pick somebody to shrink off. You're choosing Isaac. If Isaac's on the floor, because he's making them in the regular season, it's a lot different to make those shots in April and May than it is in January and February and March. And they want to prove that he can do it. And we'll see. And until he does it, no, I don't have faith in him that he can do it because he hasn't done it yet. Once he does it, Mike's right. If he comes out and he hits the first 2 or 3 corner threes, if Orlando leaves him open and he makes the first 2 or 3, it's a series changer. It's not a game changer. It is a series changer.
Yes.
That right there, what you talking about goes back to my Donovan Mitchell point, because if Donovan takes him off the thing, they gonna leave. Isaac is the guy that they're gonna leave open. So he's gonna kick it to Isaac, and Isaac, you better hit it.
Last year he didn't even shoot it was the issue.
You better hit it.
He shot a couple and it was alligator arms. It was bad.
But the reason that I don't trust him, the reason that I'm here with Isaac, is because I promise you, I feel like it's literally the same thing that it was last year. Last year it was a stretch before he got hurt where he was playing some really good basketball. And he got hurt and he just was never the same. And he didn't get hurt this year, but he just kind of fell off a little bit. So going into this,
part of the reason
I'm shell shocked from last year.
Part of the reason he fell off was the amount of open looks he was getting dropped when Donovan's hurt.
Yeah.
He's at his best when he's playing with Donovan, who draws defenders come in, he kicks out to the corner. So I did mention the shooting numbers drop. That's partly because Donovan wasn't on the court to get him those open looks. Donovan's back. You hope he's healthy enough to create those open looks. But Isaac has to hit them first before I think anyone could feel confident he's capable of doing that in a postseason series.
Isaac has about $80 million at stake in the next 3 weeks.
Yes.
Honestly.
No,
that's
he's
a
100%
lot of money.
right.
He's got $80 million on the line. Because if he plays well, if he balls out, he makes those open shots in the postseason.
He's getting a 5-year, $80 million contract.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, it's $35, $40 million.
Yeah. It's really.
He's got $40 million on the line.
Yeah. And that's
If I'm him,
that's real.
I'm shooting 1,000 jumpers a day.
And, to your point about Suggs, Mike and I talked about this on the Cavs podcast this week. I agree. Like, the Knicks did this, and we've said it for 2 years. When you get to the postseason, the first thing teams do is they blitz your best player, blitz the pick and roll, get the ball out of his hands. Mm-hmm. Okay, now what else are you going to go to? Orlando is the one team that may not do that. Just because Suggs is so good as an on-ball defender, they may not feel like they need to take the chance. And I'm curious to see how Orlando plays this series, how they guard Donovan, because they may not do what the Knicks did last year. They may not just attack Donovan and blitz Donovan because Suggs is so good. If Suggs can handle him one-on-one,
it depends.
You don't need to.
Well, I think they're gonna fill out to see how healthy is Donovan.
Yeah.
If he's truly 100%, all right, maybe we do need to throw some blitzes in there. But if he's not 100%.
Or on the flip side, if he's not 100%, you blitz him with Suggs and Isaac. And good luck trying to break that.
Yeah, that's bad too.
And who's next?
Up next, we have Evan Mobley. How you guys feeling about Evan?
When you say okay,
Can I throw both faces up for this one?
Because see, this is
a simple question.
Yeah, no, because it's not. It's a loaded question. When you say trust, are we talking just points, like scoring? Because like rebound and defense, I'm good.
I trust him.
But the scoring part,
I'm going yes too.
I trust him.
I don't know. 2 out of 3 tie this. I'd say you trust him.
You don't have to listen to us.
Jason, you start. Why do you trust Evan Mobley?
I trust Evan Mobley because he had a really good year this year. And the shooting component gets overshadowed. It overshadows a lot of the rest, and I get it.
What they going to do to him? What the Magic going to do to him?
Well, he's another one. If he's open, he's got to shoot it. And I actually have faith in him to make those shots.
I mean, listen, he's had games where he's went 100% from the three-point line.
Yeah, I have faith in him to make those shots. Now, the problem is, obviously, he's not a stretch four.
No.
Obviously, we talked about on the show when they went on that 18-2 heater, and then how do they continue to play that? Well, the way you continue to play that way, if you go 4 out and 1 in, is Evan has to be one of the outs, and he has to consistently take and make those shots. Well, that didn't happen to the extent that it probably needed to continue playing this way. So I don't know how Mobley and Allen. I don't know how many minutes they're going to be able to play on the floor together, and that complicates things. But as a player in this series, I absolutely trust Evan Mobley.
Here's what's funny.
He the one checking Paolo, right?
It just depends on who's up. If Isaac Okoro's on the court, Isaac's going to check Paolo.
Yeah.
Mobley will
But
probably
Evan could
start.
too.
Yeah.
Evan could too.
Here's what I do trust about Evan Mobley. His defensive ability, his ability to get decent looks if he has to drive from the wing. What I'm not sure I trust about Evan Mobley in this series is the viability of playing two bigs together. I think spacing is going to be huge against this Orlando defense. In the half-court set, we mentioned it yesterday, they're the third best defensive rating. They are long, they are athletic, their wingspan stretch side to side. I think spacing is going to be crucial to allow Donovan and Darius to pick their spots in the pick and roll, get in, create chaos, and then kick out to the corners. So I'm not sure I trust Evan Mobley's long-term viability in this series alongside Jared Allen. But as the one big, I actually do think I trust Evan Mobley to get his in the series.
They're not going to do just one. You would think that they would because they got enough analytics to know that they're better with one big.
If Isaac's making shots, they're playing one big.
I don't know what.
If Niang's making shots,
If Niang's making
they're
shots,
playing one big.
Do I trust, like.
So yes or no, Tavis?
we're not going to electrocute you if you get this wrong.
No, because
Yes, we will.
No, I don't trust him.
Fair
I don't
enough.
trust him.
Why
No.
don't you trust him?
I just think like they gonna do the too big thing. He's gonna get overshadowed. You know, back in the season, and I know the postseason and the regular season are two totally different things. But for a while, the pick and roll with him and Darius was great. You know, they was something that was building, and then that kind of fell apart, and it's not that effective anymore. And I just don't think he's consistent. Like I don't think consistently. You know, going up against that Orlando team, you know, he's probably gonna be the tallest calf out there, and I just don't trust him in the paint to be all that physically dominant, and I just don't think he's gonna make the shots that he needs to make. And I think that's when he doesn't make those shots, that's gonna cause the biggest problem. So at this moment, I don't trust him right now.
So 2 yeses and a no for Evan Mobley. And who's up next?
All right, we're sticking with the core four. Darius Garland, how are you guys feeling about him?
I went back and forth on this one, and it pains me to say I'm a no.
That's 2
I'm
no's.
a no. Listen, as soon as Earl took him off his parlay list, when he got put on the no parlay, and Lil Titty came on and told us he can't bet on him, we couldn't trust Darius Garland to be consistent on a game-in, game-out basis in the regular season against an elite defense with 2 elite defensive players in Jonathan Isaac and Jalen Suggs going against him on a night-to-night basis. I trust him to have a couple of big games in the series. I don't trust him for 7 games. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I trust him in spurts. I just don't trust him overall. He's just been too consistent all year.
He hit the big shot at the end of the Indiana game.
Yeah.
So he can hit a big shot in a big moment, but he's had a bad year. He's just had a really bad year. And he makes bad decisions with the ball at key moments this year. And it's hard to trust that. So, I mean, I said it in February that he wouldn't be in my closing lineup right now. And I don't think he would be right. And I know I just said he hit the big shot against Indiana. But if there's other guys who are making shots, I don't know that I trust him to be on the floor at the end of games. And that's crazy. He's the highest paid player in the history of the team. It's crazy to be saying that, and I'm sure he will be on the floor at the end.
But you're not sure if it's the best.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the best lineup for them.
Ty 3 for 3 on the nose.
It hurts me.
That's your guy.
That's like, y'all know that's my favorite Cavs player, but he's been unrecognizable. Now, don't get me wrong, he's played better on the last, 3 games, 2 games maybe. He's played better, but he went like 7 games where he didn't even scratch 10 points. Yeah. So it's just and the playoff, and then on top of that, it's not like he's the best defender. He's like the biggest defensive liability. So if you're not scoring and you ain't playing defense and you turning the ball over, like that's right now it's hard. And don't get me wrong, I know that you got it in you. I know you can boom and you could be a spark plug, you can make plays, you can facilitate. But if I'm going off of just recent memory right now, if I'm going off of how you've been playing lately, I can't.
Tough.
Right now, it's tough for me to trust. I want you to be, because you're my favorite player. I want you to be that guy. I want you to come out there and do some dribbling stuff, put people on, throw some oops. hit the big trays. Like, I want to see all those things. I know you can get to the hold and finish. I think that's the biggest thing that you don't have this year is the ability to finish at the cup. But if you do it in this series, I flipped this back to this quick. But right now, it's got to be this.
And let's run through these last couple pretty quickly.
All right, next one up, Jared Allen.
Big yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised I'm a yes after last year, but I'm a yes.
He's done everything in his power capable of redeeming himself from last season's postseason collapse up until the point where we're at now. He can't erase it until he shows it in the playoffs, but he has done literally every single thing right from where he was last year at the lowest of lows to now entering the postseason at the highest of highs. I have no reason not to trust him other than last year's playoffs was a collapse.
Perfectly said. That's exactly how I feel.
Next up.
Up next, Max Strus.
Big time yes.
Yes.
Tavis, why?
I like Max Strus because, first of all, he's played in these moments before. Last year with the Heat in the postseason, he was phenomenal. He wants to get back to there. He has that experience. But the thing that I like about him the most is that y'all tell me he was the most upset about the tanking thing. So if that's the case, he gonna come out because to him that's a loser's mentality. Right now we need championship DNA. We need championship caliber, and I think that he's gonna be the one because he's probably on this team the most experienced guy.
Tristan. What? Who's the most experienced guy?
I can't believe I forgot he was even on the team.
He's gonna play.
I know he is.
He's gonna play.
How has he been since he been off that stuff?
Well,
Not as good.
We'll get to that. We'll get to him here.
Jason, you said yes too.
yeah, for a lot of. I mean, this is why they brought him here, right? Like they brought him here for postseason experience for this moment to be an upgrade over Isaac, and then Isaac had a great year, but like he was brought here for moments like this. His shooting, he's not an elite shooter by any means, but we talked about on the podcast, him and Donovan have this little pick and roll game going, this little two-man action that is really hard for teams to guard.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the numbers lately. There was a point where they were the best two-man, or one of the best top 5 two-man combos in the league when they're on the floor together. So they just run a lot of actions. There's a lot of comfortability. And, yeah, I absolutely. The guy who went to the finals was a key piece. The team went to the finals. Yeah, you certainly trust him in a first-round matchup against Orlando.
One sentence. We have to see Isaac hit those shots
Yeah.
before we can believe it. We've seen Max hit those shots, not just in the first round of the playoffs, but in the second round, the third round, and the NBA Finals. Next up, Ant.
Up next, Karis LeVert. That's a no from Mike. That's a yes from Tyvis, and a no from Jason.
Y'all sick.
You start.
Listen, man, you need some spark off the bench. I know Karis hasn't been playing. He went from a guy that we argued about being a potential 6th man of the year, and lately it hasn't been the same. I think that Karis is up to the challenge. Coming off the bench, I don't know who's the Magic's best players off the bench is, but
Cole Anthony.
Yeah. I like Karis overall because Karis is a 3-level scorer and he facilitates. I think you need that. Essentially, he could be the spark plug. I trust Karis to come off the bench.
I don't trust him because I don't know which version of Karis you're going to
That is true.
That's
very true.
I love and I trust good Karis. I don't want to see bad Karis on my team. That is a very difficult thing. And you just don't.
They're motivated.
Don't know.
They're getting out the first round. I'm just telling you. So, Karis, you're going to get the best version of Karis.
I hope so. Good Karis, great. Bad Karis, yikes. And who's next?
All right, next up, Georges Niang. I can't
trust
see that,
him.
Tyvis.
I
That's a
think
yes.
we all do. We all.
Yes from everybody.
It's the playoff. Listen, he has 46 playoff games under his belt.
He's had some really bad moments this year.
He's been up and down. He gets hot. He goes cold. He's streaky. But I go back to the two things I've said. A, he's got 46 playoff games. He's made shots in big-time playoff moments. And 2, I cannot emphasize enough. I think spacing in this series is going to be so crucial to what the Cavs do if they're going to have any success against this Magic defense. And I don't think the 2 big lineups are going to – if JB wants to do it, fine. He's going to start with it. We're going to see that first rotation come in. They have to make shots. And if Dean Wade's not healthy, and it sucked. This series was exactly when they need Dean Wade.
Yes.
They missed Dean Wade. For this series in specific, he is such a big loss for them. Because he's not there, George is going to get minutes. And it may be 3 minutes, you miss 2 shots, George, you don't play again. But you need that spacing from a 4, and I just like his playoff experience. Maybe I'm a little, not biased, but a little
Biased.
Optimistic.